Hi there, Rick here. Wanted to make another YouTube video on, well, the vinyl window industry. Sam and Alice's company, okay? When I was with them, near the end, okay, let's say the fourth year, okay? Um, Alice was the one mainly making the decisions inside the office, okay? And for whatever reason, okay, Sam started to take it over, okay? And I know that he had gotten a pretty good salesman, okay? And okay, he ripped up his contract, okay? That he made with them. So what he was doing was, okay, they had talked to him, okay, the two of them, and they had agreed upon, okay, how much he was going to get paid, okay, for the different jobs that he was doing. And when it came time to get him paid, okay, he was paying him, you know, less than what they agreed upon, okay. He also done it to me too, okay, and then eventually, well, he didn't give me any contracts anymore, and so I had to lay off my workers, okay, that on my crew, okay. I had to downsize my, okay, my company, okay. His company, I think it was doing quite well that time, okay. He had a main crew, okay, and okay, this crew was, well, doing lots of jobs for him, okay. But what I wanted to point out was, if you only have one main crew, okay, contractor crew doing your installs for you, okay, what happens if something happens, okay? Maybe they get into a car accident, maybe they get in a disagreement with you, right? And I think that's what happened. They got in a disagreement with them, and well, he lost his only and his contracting crew doing most of all his jobs, okay. So now, one, okay, you have all these contracts, but you can't get them filled because, well, you got no contractors to go out and do the jobs for you, right? Your old contractors that you've done business with before, okay, you've ripped up their contracts, okay, and you paid them less than what you agree upon, okay. So two, very difficult to get those people back, okay. And you have to remember, okay, when you have a big warehouse and you have a bunch of material in there, okay, that's your investment, okay. And then, you know, you have to pay utilities, okay, you have to pay your workers, okay, you have to pay the property tax, okay, all very expensive, okay. And remember, okay, if you cannot start finding installers to do your jobs for you, okay, you're going to have to, well, move some of your workers to part-time in the warehouse, maybe even lay them off. They're not going to be happy by that. Maybe they'll go off and find another job, right? And then when you do start, you know, get production going again, okay, those workers that have been working for you in the warehouse that have the experience, okay, they've already moved on to other jobs, okay. So, you know, you have to try to go out and you know, look for some new workers, okay. Who knows if they're going to turn out to be all right, right? The contractors that have worked for you before in the past, okay, they're already equipped, okay, with the right tools, with the experience that they have of working with other companies, okay, and installing, well, thousands of these windows all over the Lower Mainland too, okay. Not that easy, okay, to find people with experience, okay. Because remember, okay, when I started working for Sam and Alice's company, they had some installers, okay, they were getting kicked off the job site because lack of experience. They didn't know what they were doing, right? Some had what, 3-4 months experience, and you know, that's not really that good because sometimes you can do, well, hundreds if not thousands of dollars of damage to a customer's home if you don't know what you're doing, okay. Sometimes too, some customers, just from watching you work, okay, they can tell whether or not, you know, you're experienced a bit too, okay? Um, so Sam and Alice, okay, they ran their company into the ground. Because when I look for them online, I just don't see them anymore, okay? And I wasn't going to bail them out, okay? Um, you know, you have to remember, okay, I knew people in the industry, okay, some experienced workers, even workers that could help them out in the warehouse, okay? But, you know, I wasn't going to help them out, you know, if they ripped up my contract, right? Um, you know, you have to remember, you know, that's not the way to get the loyalty of your workers, okay? I'm doing this for educational purposes too, just for even the people, well, opening up, you know, any sort of business, right? But, you know, a business like, okay, um, production of something, making something, right? Like a vinyl window or a patio door or a glass sealed unit, okay? Um, but Sam and Alice's company was a smaller company. They just didn't have the Sam and Alice just didn't have the experience. They didn't really know what they were doing, okay? And well, they ran their company into the ground, okay? And while they went bankrupt, they probably had to sell all the equipment, all the rest of the materials to for like rock bottom prices, all his tools. Because you have to remember too, okay? I'm sure he tried to maybe sell the vinyl window company to somebody who would buy it, but you have to remember they're going to ask to see the books, okay? Um, you know, see how the company was doing the past year, right? And you know, they look into his books, they see, you know, well, the company's losing money, okay? So he has almost no installers working for him at all, right? Or even salesmen or anybody else for that matter, right? Um, he he ran the company into the ground. You know, when I was there, you know, it was happening in real time. Sure, there were some things, you know, going great. You know, a lot of sales were coming in, but you have to remember, sometimes too, that can change very quickly all of a sudden. Especially when you lose your main installing crew, and that's your only crew. Okay. Um, then you have to try to scramble and find another crew, okay? Or try to maybe convince somebody to go into the industry of installing when in fact they don't have any experience in this sort of work, right? You know, to try to convince them to maybe buy a truck, get all the tools that you need to do the job, get a license, hire workers, train them, okay? All that is, believe it or not, it's a lot of work, okay? Even a lot of work to open up a vinyl window company because, well, Sam and Alice, okay, they bought a warehouse, okay, in Port Coquitlam, and you know, I'm pretty sure they spent at least a few $100,000 for that warehouse, okay, and well, they had to buy all the material, okay, they had to get a business license. They have to find workers, okay, to work in the warehouse, okay. Uh, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Kenny too in the office, just because, you know, I was with that company for a while, and you know, I kind of, well, I did like it, okay, but you know, I could see some things that the company could have done better, right? And I was trying to point that out to Alice. Um, So Kenny, okay, he was from China somewhere, and well, they didn't renew his contract. Um, but then after hearing about, you know, how he was treating some of the customers over the phone, yelling at them, okay, having a temper tantrum just because, you know, they asked him for a new price for maybe a different amount of windows, okay. Um, you know, I'm not surprised they didn't renew his contract. And you know, his work was clerical work, okay? When I say clerical work, I mean work in the office, okay? You do paperwork, you do calculations, but you mainly work in the office, okay? And maybe he liked that sort of work, right? But I just wanted to point out, um, sometimes too, okay, like, okay, for instance, okay, he got laid off, okay, he's probably looking up for another job as clerical work again, okay, whereas my work is different. I actually go out and actually do the work on the job site, okay. um, I would say that it's a lot more skilled work compared to what he was doing in the office, figuring out prices for customers if they wanted X amount of windows and patio doors, right? A lot more people would, I would think, would be applying for a position like his, okay? Because maybe, well, Kenny, okay, he doesn't like doing physical work, okay? He doesn't like lifting up heavy stuff, okay? I notice there's a lot of people out there who don't like lifting up heavy stuff, okay? Um, when I say heavy stuff, okay, maybe you're constantly, a lot of times you're lifting up something 40 pounds, okay, maybe 20 pounds. Now you're going up to 60 pounds, 80 pounds, 100, 120, 140, okay? I still remember I had a friend working for me, okay, when he had to lift up something 70 pounds, okay? He said, no, I don't want to do this, you know. He felt 70 pounds was too heavy for him. And yeah, he just walked off the job site, okay? But a few years later, okay, he had called me up and, wow, he had asked me, Rick, are you busy? And I said yes, because I think, well, he got laid off as working as a car salesman, right? Now he didn't have a job, right? Maybe he hadn't been working for at least quite a few months already, right? And he knew that I was busy a lot. He wanted to see whether or not I was busy and come back to work for me, right? But I think that he couldn't bring himself to ask me, right? Can I start working for you again? Can I have my job back, right? Especially when you walked off of me on the job site, right? You know, it's uh, it's not a very nice thing to do to your boss, especially when you ask for a job, right? And you're not working, okay? Uh, Somebody gives you opportunity to do something, right? Okay, because he did work for me part-time throughout, well, I think about 2 years, and then full-time during the summertime because he was a student, okay? But you have to remember too, I'm quite certain there's lots of students out there, you know, they have to try to find a job during the summertime, okay? And if they don't find a job, okay, they have to borrow money, okay, for their tuition and their expenses when they go back to school, because the only time they can work is through the summertime, okay? And well, it's not that easy sometimes, but well, you can't always be that picky too, I feel. But if you don't have the strength to pick up heavy stuff, right, you're gonna find the work difficult, right? Because I remember, okay, when I was just doing interviews and looking over some resumes, there was a man that he had quite a bit of education. I think he had an engineering degree, and I could see that he was a little bit older, okay? And I had phoned him up, okay? Um, just saying how, you know, um, just describing him the duties of the job a bit. And I was just saying, you've got quite a bit of education. Sure you want to, do this sort of work? Because I felt that, well, with the amount of education that he had, right? He had a degree in engineering and a degree in this, and lots of other education, right? And sure it's good to have, that a lot of that education, but I just found it surprising he was applying for a job as a laborer, um, installing vinyl windows and patio doors, right? And he had no experience in that sort of work either, right? Um, I still remember there was this young lady in her 20s. I was doing interviews at Starbucks, and um, well, she was involved going to school, involved in accounting, and then she was applying for a job as a laborer, working in the vinyl window industry. And I was given tests to all these people too. It was just some math questions related to trade, some, trade questions, right? I think about 25 questions, okay? And, I'm surprised that she even showed up to to apply for a job. And I think that, well, didn't really know what she wanted to do, okay? Um, because, if you're going to school, um, try related to accounting, okay? Wouldn't it be better trying to get into some sort of office and um, working part-time, or even, I don't know, volunteering your time to work as an accountant, right? Because, that's what you're going to school for, right? And then here you're applying for a job as a laborer on uh, a vinyl window crew, right? Um, because there have been, well, ladies working in this industry too, right? But they're usually okay, vacuuming, cleaning up the rooms, moving around some of the tools, right? uh, clean the windows, right? um, but nothing too hard, like walking the plank, using the skill saw, cutting out the window on it, being up 2 stories, right? Doing a lot of the lifting in the 300-pound living room window or something like that, right? They're usually not doing duties like that, okay? So I think a lot of times too, well, it's hard for, well, the younger people, especially when you're not sure what you want to do for a career, right? And you still have to remember this is an important decision in your life, right? Because maybe you're going to be doing this for your rest of your lifetime, or a few years, or 6-7 years. Okay, you're going to use your prime years of your life, doing something, gaining experience in something what you're doing. Okay. um, I still remember hearing about this story. This guy in a construction crew, that was his job before. He would get the boss coffee, okay? And they were doing big demolition jobs on big buildings, okay? But he started at the very bottom, getting coffee for his boss. And then eventually, I think he took over the company, and he was operating the demolition crew. So he just stayed in the company long enough. He learned all the different aspects of the business, okay? But maybe he was making a good living from it too, right? Usually make a better living from it if you own the company, compared to if you're just a bottom tier worker, fetching coffee for the boss, right? um, Sam and Alice, their company is not around anymore. Um, they ran their company into bankruptcy. I hope that, well, just some people can learn from it, because they I felt that they were very difficult people to do business with. Okay. Um, I even felt, well, like, the last few weeks of working with them, okay, they weren't that honest, and they weren't that fair, okay. I think that was another reason why they ran, another reason why their company is not around anymore, okay. Um, Remember too, somebody will always pick up the well, their business, okay, like their customers that they had, because there's more than one vinyl window company here in the city, okay. It's same with the banks too, okay. If one bank fails, there's always another bank that will take all the customers from that failed bank, right? There's always other businesses, okay, that are related to the business that failed, okay, that will pick up its customers, okay, is what I'm trying to say. And when there is, okay, too many people doing the same business, okay, um, it's not good sometimes, because then, it's hard for, well, everybody to, make money, okay? Like, say for instance, you were the only computer repairman in the city. Imagine how much business you would get, right? Because too, something I feel that something's happening in the city right now. There is a lot of different trades, okay? Whether it be roofing, okay, landscaping, vinyl window installing, window glazing, okay? I'm talking about commercial buildings too, okay? Electrical, framing, okay? Framing is very big too, believe it or not. There's a lot of workers retiring, okay? Because even I was talking to my masonry boss as well, okay? If you look at a lot of the masonaries, okay, these guys, they don't look that young anymore. I would say a lot of them were maybe in their late 50s or in their 60s, right? And you have to remember, I feel that, okay, once when you reach over 60, okay, a lot of these guys have trouble, okay? They start developing health problems that they didn't know that, well, they didn't have it, when they were younger, okay? And now that they're over 60, they're noticing they're having some health problems, okay? Or what I find too, a lot of them, okay, they just realize they're not strong enough to do the work anymore, okay? They can't lift up anything heavy, okay? They have trouble going up and down ladders, okay? And because there's a shortage in these, in the trades, okay? The wages usually go up, okay? And well, if you choose the right one, okay, you'll be very busy throughout the entire year, okay? But you also have to get the experience too, right? I feel that you have to learn from somebody who knows what they're doing, okay? Who is doing, lots of projects, okay? Or, they're in a medium-sized company and they're doing lots of jobs, okay? And because you have to remember, some of these jobs, okay, they're worth thousands of dollars, okay? Like, maybe on average, okay, $5,000. And, that's a fair bit, okay? It's a fair bit of money. Because if you manage to do these jobs quite quickly, okay, you have sales in the excess of maybe over $100,000 or a couple $100,000 a year, okay? And you should be making good money, okay? Because remember, you're getting a percentage from the amount of sales, okay? By the time you deduct expenses, workers' expenses, maybe, materials, right? They're just looking for a temporary job too, okay? They don't want to do this for a living, okay? They just want to do it for the summer, then maybe go back to school, okay? I know that when I was with Peter's company, okay? He had a medium-sized company, and he was paying me a lot more, per hour, okay, compared to a lot of other people working in the warehouse. One reason why was because, I came from another company, okay. I had already worked for him for maybe a few months already. Then, he laid me off because, you know, he didn't want to pay me what I had asked for. So I went to go work for another company for a lot more money. And then, you know, he wanted me to come back because there was no service guy. He lost his service guy to a, you know, a car accident, and he wasn't back yet. So, you know, he begged me to come back. You know, he gave me the amount of money I was asking for, okay? And, you know, throughout a couple of years, we got into another disagreement, okay? You know, he laid me off again. I went to go work somewhere else. And, you know, I made friends with, well, one of the workers in the company, and I knew him for a long time. And Gabe, okay, he didn't have any experience working as, well, a window technician, okay. I don't know what he used to do before, okay, but he came into the company with no experience. He had to learn everything, okay. And believe me, there was a lot to learn, okay. And you still have to remember the work was a little bit dangerous a bit, okay. I don't know if he knew that or not, but sometimes that really deters a lot of workers when they find out that, you know, this work is dangerous, okay, because they don't want to be hurt on the job, right? Maybe, you know, the injury is quite serious and it affects them for their lifetime, right? Because you have to remember, you're sometimes going up a ladder, okay, 2 stories, so you're a good, 20 feet off the ground, okay? You maybe got a 40-pound piece of glass in your hand, okay? You know, I've even carried sometimes a 60-pound piece of glass in my hand up a ladder, okay? You know, if you fall, okay, you know, you can maybe seriously hurt yourself. You know, maybe you land on the fence, the glass lands on top of you, and then you hit the concrete, okay, coming from 20 feet high, right? You know, imagine, you know, how injured you'll be, okay, if you, well, you landed on the fence, right? I've heard of sometimes some roofers, it happened to them, okay, accidentally fell off the roof, they hit the fence, and then they hit the grass down below, or they hit the concrete pavement, right? And then, you know, they're in pain for the rest of their life, and they're taking painkillers. Their back is not the same, right? It happened to my in-law, okay? Her dad was doing some roof work, okay? And I don't know how steep the roof was, okay? But you have to remember, you have to know what you're doing, okay? Some roofers use what's called roof anchors, okay? So they have a safety line, okay? If they accidentally slip off the roof, okay, the safety line will catch them, okay? You know, knowing things, you know, to do to be able to protect yourself when you're doing the job is really important, okay? And sometimes too, you know, if you have a boss that, you know, maybe you're working on a steep roof, okay, and he doesn't want to, you know, pay attention to any of the safety standards, okay, and you know, that's just plain stupid, okay, because you know, you could maybe well, seriously, he might seriously injure himself, or you might seriously injure yourself, right? So it's just not smart, okay? Because you know, I sometimes refuse to do some things I felt was too dangerous, okay? And the boss didn't really want to do it, okay? And the work was working on the roof, okay? It was doing masonry work, and sometimes, yeah, the roof was kind of steep a bit. You know, you have to remember, there's a lot of guys that, you know, I'm talking about the boss now, okay? They don't want to do the work themselves, okay? Because they feel it's dangerous. They want their worker to do it, okay? And, you know, bosses like that, okay, I would say that they're smart, but not so smart in a way, okay? Because the worker can see it, okay? They can see that their boss doesn't want to do it, okay? They want the worker to do it, right? And, well, when I was working with Peter's company, okay, working in the warehouse, okay, I noticed that he was sending me out a lot, okay, to help the install crews do the installs, okay, from different on different crews, okay. Um, Here you hire me, okay, you're paying me minimum wage to work in the warehouse. You know, I have at least 2 years experience, okay, working as an installer. I'm getting paid, you know, um, more money, okay, working as an installer, okay, and you're using me, you know, helping out different install crews, okay, because remember that the company had at least full-time install crews, okay, and they were having trouble finding good workers, okay. So, you know, I felt that was kind of unfair, you know, like, I mean, I used to get a lot more money doing that work, okay? And I'm supposed to be working for you in the warehouse, you know, making these vinyl windows and patio doors, yet you're using me a lot uh, to go out and help these install crews install the vinyl windows, okay? One, it's more dangerous, okay? Because sometimes, well, you're lifting up a 300-pound living room window, okay? Anytime you lift up something that heavy, you risk maybe injuring yourself, okay? Or it's hard on the body too, okay? Or lifting up what is it, an 8-foot patio door, you know, going through the house with it. You know, it's hard work, and you know, no, a lot of guys won't do it for, you know, too cheap, right? And you know, so I complained to him about it, and well, he laid me off, okay. But you know, I wasn't going to do it for minimum wage, okay. And you have to remember, a lot of other workers, even though they don't have any experience, okay, they don't want to do it for minimum wage either, okay. Maybe you do find a person who has a little bit experience, okay. He does it for a little while, a little bit of time, maybe a month, to show you what he could do, okay? And then, you know, he starts demanding, okay, expect to be paid a lot more, okay, per hour, okay? If you can't pay me this amount that I'm asking for, you know, per hour, you know, I'm gonna go do something else, okay? Because why should I break my back doing this sort of work? You know, you're only paying me minimum wage. I can go find another job, maybe not breaking my back, doing something a lot easier and a lot less dangerous, okay, and be paid the same amount of money what you're paying me, right? So another reason why I'm doing this is for educational purposes, not just for other workers, okay, trying to maybe, you know, get into the industry, but for the company themselves, okay, when they're looking for workers, okay. You know, you can't pay somebody you know, minimum wage if the worker's got 2 years experience doing it full time, okay. And you can usually tell whether or not a worker is experienced, you know, who says he's been doing it for 2 years, okay. Any sort of the skilled work, okay, you could tell that it looks like he's done that before, okay. Whereas my Tyler, who said he had 5 years experience, and the grout was all over the place, okay. It looked like, well, he was even having trouble just, you know, notching a tile, going around an electrical box, okay. He was having trouble, okay, sometimes just even putting in one tile, okay. Yeah, you didn't need to have a whole lot of experience to look at the guy and say, gee, you know, this guy looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, okay. And then you know, he said to me he wants to work by himself. He doesn't want anybody to watch him work, okay? And I don't blame him, because, you know, if you towel like that, hell, I wouldn't want to have my boss watch me work either. You know, he can tell that, you know, he can tell that I don't know what the hell I'm doing, okay? And you know, I'm making lots of mistakes. I'm breaking his tiles, okay? I'm costing him money, okay? Then I was telling him, you know, I was doing a tile job for one of my other customers and in the washroom, and the tiles were smaller. There was about 120 of them. I cut all 120 of them myself. I measured them, okay? Didn't make a single mistake. I think altogether, by the time we put the tiles on, we grouted it. I think we spent a total of maybe about 1 day on it, which was me and my worker, okay, which was pretty good, okay, because you know, I done a little bit of tiling, okay, through the years. I wasn't an expert at it, and my worker, okay, he even had less experience. Like I said, I'm making this for educational purposes too, okay, even for the big companies, okay. Hopefully they see this video, and well, hopefully Peter sees the video and actually learn something from it, okay? Because I know that he's still in the industry. He'll probably be in the industry for the rest of his life, okay? Just because I don't think he can do anything else, okay? His strength is the clerical work, okay, in the office. You know, the boss gives him quite a bit of power, the power to, you know, fire the workers, lay them off, right? But, you know, if I was the boss, you know, I don't agree with what he's doing, okay? Because I even know that he's yelling at some of the customers. Boss is paying like over $100,000 on advertising, okay? And, you know, he's yelling at some of the customers, right? Or he's laughing at them, okay? Remember this one story. The customer told me it. This was about, I think, 4 vinyl windows, 4 or 5. I was installing the windows for the customer. He told me, okay, I phoned this company, and then I said, oh, I know that company. I worked for that company for 3 years. And then he was asking for, you know, a price, and, you know, he said how many windows he was interested in getting. And he said that Peter started laughing at him, okay? Not the best thing to do to a customer that's, you know, interested in what, spend at least maybe a couple of $1,000, right? And you know, the boss is spending what, over 100 grand on advertising. You know, customers are calling into your office and you're laughing at them, right? So I was telling that story to my coworker, okay, who was a glazer, and you know, I think he was kind of shocked a bit too, okay. Because you have to remember, okay, you know, you're giving the industry a bad name, okay. Customers don't like it, okay. Um, you know, sometimes the story gets around, right, and you know, maybe people start thinking, oh, you know, a lot of these guys in the vinyl window industry, you know, they're idiots, right? You know, I don't want to even, you know, have anything to do with these guys, right? You know, you're giving an image to a bad image to your industry that you're in, right? You know, I still remember, okay, I was getting vinyl siding, spent something like about 3-4 grand, okay. I think $4,000 at this company, just picking up the materials. And you know, one of the workers in the warehouse was pretty rude when I felt, okay. I had the receipt to get the material, okay. I saw him on the forklift, okay, and you know, I said hello, you know, just to try to get his attention, right? And then he throws a temper tantrum at me, okay. He goes, what? Can't you see I'm busy? You know, he starts yelling at me, right? You know, and I was telling that to my coworker, okay, and he started laughing, okay, because we thought it was funny, because you know, usually, you know, when you're at a business, the customer comes first, right? And you know, I'm just trying to get his attention, right? Because I thought, you know, he couldn't see me where I was at the desk there, right? And he was operating the forklift, doing some work, and you know, he starts yelling at me and says, you know, can't you see I'm busy? So I was telling that to the salesman too, and you know, just saying that, you know, I felt that, you know, one of your workers in the warehouse, man, is he ever rude? And you know, he seemed kind of upset about it. Okay, he was trying to find out who it was. Okay, but you know, when I was there, I guess maybe, I don't know, a year later, I didn't see him there anymore, because one, I think, he was doing it to other customers too. And, once when, that gets back, to the, what is it, to the owner, okay? One, he's going to think about seriously whether or not, okay, you even like doing this job. You're an idiot, okay? No other simpler way to put it, you're an idiot, okay? And, whether or not, this job is, well, even for you, right? Because you're giving the company a bad image, a bad name, right? Sure, you're maybe working really hard, but you have to remember, you're there because the customers are there too, right? They're the ones coming in spending what, $4,000 per visit sometimes, right? Because I was in there spending $4,000, okay? And even one time when he had to do something extra for me, um, I could hear him, well, I could hear him swearing under his lip, okay? Because he had to do something extra, right? You know, um, you're getting paid to do this work, right? And, you're swearing underneath your lip, right? You have to do something extra, okay? Sure, you think you're all great, you're a really good worker, you're working really hard, right? But you have to remember, the reason why you're there too is because of the customer, okay? No customers, no work for you, okay? Plain and simple, okay? But I think he was, I don't know, kind of, well, an idiot a bit, he didn't understand all this, how businesses work, okay? And, I'm not surprised I didn't see him there after 1 year anymore. I think some people are just miserable at, they're doing something that they don't really like doing, okay? And they're going to work miserable, okay? They see the customer, they take it out on the customer, which is not the best thing to do, okay? It's almost like with Kenny, okay? I don't think he really, liked working in the office, giving quotes to customers or vinyl windows, patio doors. When they asked to make a change to the contract and get a new price, he'd throw a temper tantrum at them over the phone and start yelling at them, right? You just cannot do that, okay? Remember, you're getting paid to do a certain job, okay? And, if you're not going to do it, get out of it, okay? Let somebody else in there, they'll do the job, okay? Who actually, well, is a little bit, one, more professional. Two, they actually like doing what they're doing, okay? They have a little bit of a passion of what they do for a living, okay? But I think there's a lot of people in the city like this, okay? They do something for a living, and they don't really like doing what they're doing, okay? It's not that easy sometimes, okay? I know that, to find something to do that, well, for something to do for a living, okay, that you actually like, okay? I think a lot of people are stuck in a situation like that, but what can they do, okay? Sometimes, okay, they, they just can't get out of what they're doing, for a living, and then, jump over to a new career, okay? It's just, sometimes it's not that easy, okay? There's only so many years, okay, especially the best years of your life, okay, doing a particular career, okay? And before you know it, okay, you're pretty close to what? Maybe 60, over 65, right? I remember my Tyler was, well, he had lied to me about his age, because I remember him telling his age to a different age to my coworker. And, he said he had 5 years experience in tiling, but, I could tell that he couldn't do it professionally, okay? He was actually pretty sloppy at it, and it didn't look like he knew what he was doing. And so he's pretty close to 65, right? He's almost got no skills whatsoever, okay? you know, what happens 5 years later, okay, when he's over 65, okay? What is he going to be doing, okay? Is he going to even be doing anything, or whether or not he's just going to be sitting around collecting welfare or something like that, right? You know, I had a worker like that before. He was with my company for 2 years, and I knew he was on you know, welfare, and you know, I think he's been on welfare for quite a few years. And what was it? You know, one day, you know, he just, when I'd ask him to do something, he wouldn't do it. Okay, um, he just didn't want to do the job anymore, do the work anymore. But he still wanted to get paid. Okay, but he learned the hard way that, you know, bosses, you know, the work doesn't work that way. Okay, you know, I told him that, you know, I was going to get rid of him if he kept that up. Okay. Make a long story short, he didn't show up to work the next day. I got rid of him. Okay. He kept in touch with me for about 2 years. You know, just phoning me every, I don't know, every 4 months or so. You know, just asking me about work, right? And you know, because he wasn't doing anything. Okay. And probably to this day, he's probably still doing nothing. Okay. And he's, well, just on welfare. Okay. Gets up in the morning. Okay. Goes down to the soup kitchen, you know, go get some soup and, you know, some bread, um, you know, sits around with other people talking about work, okay, not actually doing any work, just talking about it, okay. um, you know, he realizes that, you know, he made a mistake, right? But, you know, I'm not gonna babysit the guy, you know, he's an adult, right? um, so, um, you know, if he wants to live his life like that, right? It's up to him, right? I'm not gonna lecture him how to lecture his life, right? But you know, he tells me how you know, he told me one time that, you know, he wasn't happy with his life, his financial situation, right? Um, but you know, he doesn't want to do anything to improve it, right? You know, because I said to him, you know, had you stayed with me and worked with me, you probably have a little bit of money saved up by now, right? And you know, he didn't say anything, you know, because, you know, he knew I was right, you know. But you know, he kind of had a bit of an arrogant attitude too, okay? And you know, when you have kind of like an arrogant attitude, like, you know everything already, you know, those type of people, okay, you can't train them to do anything, okay, even if they're doing something wrong, because you know, they feel that, you know, they know everything already, right? Which they don't, right? Because I tried to show him stuff, okay, he would forget it the next day. And well, you know, he just worked on my job site doing gopher jobs, you know, moving my tools around, you know, putting this away. I asked him to get me something, he gets it, right? But you know, one day, you know, he just didn't want to do the work anymore, but he still wanted to get paid, okay? And he learned pretty fast, okay? You know, probably within a week, okay? Um, you know, you can't do that on the job site, because um, you know, I only kept him around for about another week. I let him fool around for a week, and then after that, I got rid of him. I told him I was planning on getting rid of him, and he didn't take me seriously. He didn't show up for work next day, so you know, I got rid of him. And you know, he didn't call me for about 3 weeks too. Okay, and then after three weeks, he called me and asked me, you know, why did you get rid of me? I still wanted to work for you. Okay, so I could tell that, you know, he didn't really want to work. Okay, because you know, you don't call me what for three weeks, okay, to find out, you know, whether or not, you know, what I have lined up for that week, okay, in terms of jobs, okay. And so you know, he just you know, bums around the city a bit, you know, goes to, like I say, soup kitchens, um, you know, maybe you know, do some odd jobs here and there. um, you know, maybe sweep some floors or do some janitorial work, okay? Um, but I would say that, these type of people, they can't hold down a full-time job, okay? And I think, well, some of them know they can't, right? Because some of the workers I had before, okay, they would brag to me how good they were, and then I knew of a medium-sized vinyl window company that was always usually looking for workers. I would tell them about the company. I tell them to go down there and apply for a job, and sure enough, they wouldn't go down there, to ask for a job, okay. So I knew that they couldn't work a full-time job, okay. They're just kind of like temporary workers, okay. They just work a little bit, transient workers, okay. They just work a little bit here, a little bit there, okay. Nothing too much, okay. Full-time job would probably stress them out too much, and plus too, they cannot work a full-time job, okay. It's only by working with enough different people through the years that you can see this in different people, okay.